In this video, we share 6 truths or untruths to look out for before getting married. Next.
Here we go.
So first off, Ashlyn and I will be married for 9 years this year.
So we're just going to give you a brief intro for how we remember how things went down when we first met.
So I think we'll let the ladies go first. So we'll go with Ashlyn's recollection.
So how I remember it. So we briefly met at church, and that was in the year of 2008, and that time I just joined Facebook also. So how I remember it, I received a friend request from Brett. And then we started chatting, and then he asked me for my Mixit pin. That time Mixit was out. Don't you think that was a cool app?
I think it was, yeah.
So we were chatting, and then one night we were chatting and we were like talking about marriage, the whole wedding. At that time I was just playing along. So we were planning a whole wedding day. And then we chatted until like about 1 or 3, I can't remember the exact time.
And we didn't even know each other properly, like at that point.
So the next morning we were chatting, and Brett asked me about the wedding, so I was just like, oh yeah, the wedding. And still chatting, we went out in groups as friends, and then like a month later, he asked me if I'd like to date him. I thought, okay, let me give it a go. I remember that on Christmas Day, it was the evening, so he asked me if I'd like to date him. And then 2 months later, he proposed.
So my recollection is obviously a lot similar to Ashlyn's, but I think my initial meet or my initial view of Ashlyn was like, it was in church as well, obviously. But you know, it was like the heavens opened up and there was a voice that said, oh, this is your wife. And it was just that epic, I think, for me, but a lot of the things that she mentioned definitely went down the way she said. I just remember something, you know, confirming to me that, you know, that will be my wife. Even though at the time when I saw her, I didn't actually know who she was. I knew at that point. So it will be almost a decade that we married next year. And we really just thought it would be valuable for us to share some of the things that we've encountered over the last 9 years of being married.
So we thought we'd just verify some truths and dispel some untruths of our own experience. So here are 6 truths or untruths to note if you're thinking about getting married.
Truth or untruth number 1. Numero uno.
You must date for a long time before getting married.
Truth or untruth?
Untruth.
I think it's an untruth. I think in our own experience, yeah, if you know, you know. There are certain cases where people do generally date longer, obviously court for. We know friends of ours that dated for almost the same amount of years that we married, and they eventually got married. So it's true for some people, but I don't think you can generalize it and say it's true for everyone. I don't know your view.
Yeah, because I also know people that dated for years, and after those like 5-6 years they actually broke up.
That's true, yeah. So we'll list it as an untruth.
Truth or untruth number 2.
Encourage one another. Truth or untruth?
Definitely a truth.
I definitely concur. Definitely important to encourage your spouse, especially for us. I think we've been married so long. It's evident that when one spouse has an idea, that the other spouse encourages that spouse to go for whatever they're looking to achieve.
Yeah, it's definitely true. Like even with this, with blogging, Brett like encouraged me. At the time, I thought like, what is he talking about? But then we actually gave it a go.
We'll mark this one a truth.
Definitely.
Truth or untruth number 3. Weddings must be big and fancy. What do you think?
Wow. Every lady is different. For me, I don't think it needs to be big and fancy. We had a small wedding and it was fancy, wouldn't you say?
I think I would tend to agree. Our initial plan, funny enough, was to have like this big-ish wedding with 100 odd people there. We had these plans. When it actually came closer to the time, we actually just changed our minds, because the most important thing for us, I think, at that stage was just to tie the knot. I don't necessarily think that you have to have it. If that is something you want to do, brides, parents want to be able to, give their daughters that big fairy tale wedding. But that shouldn't be a deterrent to not let you get married at a certain time. It's definitely something that you can maybe look at 10 or 5 years down the line to have a bigger thing once the finances and stuff are right. But I would say personally, in our own experience, if you feel the time is right to do it, money shouldn't then be a factor, and having this big fairy tale day shouldn't determine whether you do it or not. People generally just come to your wedding to eat your food and complain about it the next day. So yeah,
So that's definitely untruth.
definitely.
Truth or untruth number 4.
You must change. So for this one, I definitely think that this is a truth. I'm probably getting a lot of, I think to evolve and grow in a marriage, each person needs to sort of lay aside, I would say, things that they picked up over the years of being on their own, and sort of lay certain things down for their spouse. So in that sense, I'm not saying their character necessarily needs to completely change, but there definitely are a few things that each individual in that marriage needs to change, because you can't really go on living the same way you did when you were single. I don't know if you agree with that.
Definitely. So, for instance, like if you like partying and smoking and drinking, and your partner doesn't do that, you need to be willing to change and like meet your partner halfway.
Agreed. Definitely a truth. Truth or untruth number 5. Love is all you need to sustain a marriage.
Marriage is a walk in the park.
Your thoughts?
Definitely an untruth. With marriage, you need to give your 110% in order for it to work.
Yeah, I definitely think marriage requires a lot of work. It's definitely not a walk in the park at all. Probably the first 2 years of a marriage is quite difficult, because you're getting to know one another and adapting to each other's habits, and also letting go of certain habits. So this is definitely a untruth.
Truth or untruth number 6.
You need to be intentional about working on your marriage. It's something that I picked up a few years ago, where it's small things that you really just need to, like getting up in the morning and making sure you tell your spouse that you love them. Like small things that you used to do when it was still young days in the marriage or early days in the marriage. You need to always try and continue to do that stuff, even if it means making breakfast on a Saturday morning and not moaning about it.
Definitely. Like I said, you need to give 110%, so you need to show your love by doing things and not just saying, I love you.
Benjamin Franklin said this: marriage is the most natural state of man, the state in which you will find solid happiness.
Question of the day. What are some of the question marks or thoughts on why you think you should or should not get married? Let us know in the comments below.
So if you like this video, hit that like button. This is also the first part of a series that we are doing on this topic, so you should definitely consider subscribing, and also click that bell for notifications on when the new videos will be posted.
That's all from us for now.
Stay in the flow.
Peace.